Ragù bolognese, traditionally with beef and pork. But we're going to make it with vegetables. Celery, carrots, celeriac, cauliflower, garlic, onions, thyme, bay leaf, and then a tomato sauce to bind it. Once you've made your ragù bolognese, we can make lasagna. We can make a pappardelle with the king oyster mushrooms with the ragù bolognese. It's delicious, so it's quite versatile. It's very simple. Just take our carrots, celeriac and celery, all exactly the same. So it's slightly larger than a brunoise, but smaller than a macédoine. It's about 1/8 of an inch square. Maybe a 1/16. You see. There we are. And you do your celeriac and celery exactly the same. It doesn't have to be perfect, because remember, we're going to cook it down in olive oil. So that goes there. So with the cauliflower, what we do, we just break it down. There we are. And just very simple, quite coarse. Slowly, slowly work it round. You can see we've got all the main core there. And then what we do is just push it to one side. Just run your knife through it. You can see all that texture. And that will break down through the cooking a little bit. Don't try and make it perfect. There we are. And there's our cauliflower. Just run your knife through one last time. But what's interesting, by the way I make the bolognese, it's intense, but it's quite meaty. It's not soggy. Most people boil vegetables, and by boiling them, they're not allowed to release their water. And also, you don't get that intensity of flavour as you do with roasting or frying vegetables. One thing you'll notice is when I do boil something, I boil them in their own juices. 1 for texture and 2 for flavour. Where I put it inside the sous vide pouches, seal it, and then poach it. So it's all about intensifying the flavour and preserving and protecting the texture. The ragù bolognese made with vegetables without meat. Olive oil. Now we take the onions and the garlic, which has been grated. And same as always, we cook to remove the water content, to remove the acidity. But slowly, slowly, the scent becomes less acidic and more sweet. And if you listen to the sound, the frying, it gets gentler and gentler because the water is evaporating. Work the onions across the base of the pan. In with the carrots. In with the celeriac. In with the celery. In with the cauliflower. In with the thyme. And in with the bay leaf. A little salt, a little pepper, which is optional. So season with salt and pepper. But remember, remove the blinkers. If you wish to put chili flakes in to give it a bit of heat, that's your choice. If you wish to finish it with some fresh chilies, that's your choice. Allow your palate to dictate. This is just a base. And allow your imagination and your palate to take you somewhere you like to go. Bring it down from the edges. Stay with her. Don't turn your back on her. Allow her to sweat down slowly. Keep on working her, and working her, and working her, until all the water basically is evaporated. The vegetables are cooked, but their intensity of flavour is enormous, and their texture is real. Listen. If you listen, the sizzling is very gentle. What that tells me is the water has now evaporated. When I first threw in the vegetables with the hot oil, it's releasing. But as the water releases, the sound gets much gentler. Okay. So we add the fresh tomato sauce, which you would have seen me make in my first BBC Maestro course. And now what we do is we cook that down to the texture that we require. Because what we don't want is it to be loose and sloppy, but at the same time we don't want it to be dense and heavy. It's that balance. If you don't wish to make a sauce, then use passata. It's fine. So now, cook it down slowly to the texture required, but to retain that texture of the vegetables so they don't go mushy. You still want texture. It's very important. My recommendation when you make the ragù bolognese, but with vegetables, is to make it a day in advance so it matures. It's even more delicious. Okay, there we are. Remove the thyme and the bay leaf. Wow. So the first layer is the vegetable. So there we have the vegetable bolognese, first layer. But remember, you can always replace the vegetables with mushrooms and make a mushroom lasagna. It's equally as delicious. Rather than use sheets of pasta, use sheets of celeriac. You've seen how I cook it. I cook it as an entire, and I slice it. It's just like building a jigsaw. So then what we do is take some white sauce, which is just a classical white sauce. And then a little sprinkling of Italian vegetarian hard cheese. We slowly build up the layers. And the bolognese you can use with pasta. Yeah, when you make your spaghetti bolognese. Rather than make a bolognese with meat. There we are. Okay. A little bit of cheese. There's our celeriac. Apply a little bit of pressure. Just use up your trim so it doesn't go to waste. Clip your little gaps. So just apply a little pressure. Now, work your white sauce, your bechamel, over the surface of your lasagna. Okay. Now take your cheese. There's our lasagna, but without meat. The ragù bolognese is replaced with vegetables. The pasta is sheets of celeriac, but the construction is classical. We cook the lasagna at 160 for approx 30 minutes. So there we have it. Our lasagna al forno, which is classical, with ragù bolognese, made without pasta, made without meat. Vegetable bolognese, and the pasta was replaced with the sheets of celeriac. Now, it smells sensational. And just a little crystal salt. There's something rather delicious about crystal salt. When it hits the tongue, dissolves, and that explosion of the sea is just extraordinary. Remember when you season twice, at the start and at the end. And there we have it.